Hey everybody, it's Dean Jackson. Welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast, and I'm super excited today. We're going to be talking with, let's say, this is an interesting conversation that we're going to have because we're going to be talking about chicken. And we're going to be doing something we never talked about on the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast, even though it's food related. And our guest today is Tyler Dawley from BigBluffRanch.com. So I'm excited to hear the story, and I'm very interested to dig into how the chicken business works and see if we can overlay our 8 profit activators on it and hatch some new ideas. So Tyler, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So how did we get connected? First off, I suspect you were on the call I did with Cam's people. Yeah.
That's exactly it. I listened to a little talk you gave to a group of grass-fed direct marketers. So there is a small vein of people in the agricultural animal world that sells direct to consumer, farm to table type idea. And I'm a member of that group. And this group is always bringing in really smart, interesting people because we're producers, right? That's where our heart is. We want to be out there growing stuff. It's a very rare person who wants, it's very rare to go for marketing and backing into production. It's almost the much more common path is to go from production, realize you're not making enough money, realize the way you can only make the money you need is to direct market. And then all of a sudden you turn yourself into a marketer. So for the most part, all of us agriculturalists, if we're trying to do the direct to consumer route, need lots and lots of help to be good marketers because it's not native to us.
Right. I got it. Now, but it's so pure. What you did, the production, the stuff that you guys are doing, it's very admirable. I'd love to hear, like, how did you get into the chicken business in the first? Is it a family business, or did you make a decision to kind of get into it?
Oh, no, family. I grew up here. I'm actually sitting in my sister's childhood bedroom that's now become my office. My dad is dropping off my kids at the same elementary school that I went to so I could be on this podcast. So we're at the 4th generation right now.
Wow.
And
4 generations. What year was it started?
Grandpa bought the ranch in 1960. So
1960. Okay. Could you
it's kind of,
is your grandpa
I was just going to say it's around here.
Is your grandpa still with
us?
Or?
Oh, no, he passed away, what is it, 5-6 years ago?
Okay.
But he was around my whole childhood. So I definitely knew him. And it's kind of a funny joke. So Red Bluff, we're in California. We're a couple hours north of Sacramento. So you would think that your general perception of California is, Silicon Valley or beaches and surfing. And there's actually the majority based on land mass of California is actually relatively rural and relatively agricultural.
Yeah.
And so around here, having bought the ranch in 1960, we're still kind of newcomers that people do know us now, but there are still many families who originally homesteaded. So like, for instance, Ann Reed lives on Reed Road because her great grandfather made the road.
Wow.
And there's tons of that. Yeah. So if your family doesn't go back into the 1800s, you're still a relative newcomer around here.
Okay. I love that. I play golf. I was in Scotland and I always get amused by the fact that the new course at St. Andrews was built in 1895. So they still refer to it as the new course. I love that.
Right.
So imagine, I was thinking about your grandfather, if you were to tell him, he's watching you right now, looking down, and you're on a podcast. Can't even imagine what that was in 1960, right? You're doing what? I mean, that's pretty funny. So you've been in the business since you got right out of college? Is that this is what you've done your whole life, been in the chicken business? Okay.
No, well, not necessarily the chicken business. So the 30-second recap of the ranch. Grandpa bought it in 1960. My parents took over management in the early 80s. And at that time, they had to figure out how the ranch needed to make more money to support more families. They were not tied to too much tradition. They ran into a guy named Alan Savory, who at the time was talking about holistic resource management. And now it's just holistic management. And he's an amazing guy. He has a TED Talk. Can't remember the title of it, but it's had multiple millions of views.
Oh, wow.
His central thesis is that we should be managing our landscapes as close to Mother Nature as possible. Quick example, imagine a herd of wildebeest in Africa. They're not going to stay in one spot for very long because they're either going to eat it or they're going to get chased away by lions.
Yeah.
And so that is a management practice that we should be recreating. He has a whole bunch of other stuff. Very fascinating. And so that's what we started to do in the 80s. We started to manage our grazing on our rangeland. And instead of wolves, we were using electric fences. And that led us into amazing regeneration of our landscape. That led us into changing our animal genetics to fit our landscape. That led us into grass-fed beef. This is where my spluttering career of marketing started. That in 2000, let's say I graduated college on a Friday and I was at a farmer market on a Sunday. It was probably 2 or 3 weeks later, but still, we were at farmer markets in 2000 with our grass-fed beef. And we did the kind of the normal thing of like, oh, people like our beef. Let's try a different product. So we started raising lamb. We started raising goat. And those are delicious, but not a lot of people eat them, right? It didn't really go anywhere. Looking back, I could have done things a lot differently. But at the time, it was like, people don't want this. We're not doing it. Well, what do people eat a lot? Well, they eat chicken. Okay, let's try chicken. There's pasture-raised chicken. So we tried that 2006 or so, and it was a disaster. We did it. The animals were very happy. We treated the animals great, but from a producer side of the equation, it was not pleasant. We ended up so we came up with a new rule. It's like 4 legs only on the ranch. We're only going to raise animals with 4 legs. Then we got it. Well, the only thing left is pork. Let's get into pigs. So we started doing pasture pork. And that turned out to be even a worse disaster than the chickens. At the time, we had a really large wild pig population. So to keep a wild boar away from a domestic sow in heat is 99% impossible without, just a moat and a barricade. So pigs were an amusing but complete failure. We got out. Then we got back into chicken because everyone else had come into the market with grass-fed beef while we were distracted with other things. That was when we got into chicken. We got up to about 1,800 a head a year, processing on farm, direct marketing through farmers markets. That wasn't enough volume to make enough money. And we reached a point with our processing that none of our friends and family would come help us anymore. They were ghosting us. Didn't know it at the time what to call it, but you call them like, hey, you're going to come help? Silence.
Nothing.
So we ended up I went to a conference, ran into a guy. He could sell more than he could raise, and I could raise more than I could sell. And so that's when we went really into large scale pasture poultry, but not with our label on it. We were contract growers of the best variety. We were very happy with it. But then COVID happened, and those big situations just kind of fell away. And we are now circling back to my idea of talking to you that I need to learn how to do a better job direct marketing our organic, pasture raised, no corn, no soy, best chicken you've ever had to people, and how to generate leads, how to be present online, how to take those leads, how to nurture them, how to set up a whole system that actually works. And that's what I've been stumbling through for the past, what am I at now? About a year.
Right. Okay. So that's very interesting. How many chickens do you raise now a year?
Right. So we're going to do about 50,000 this year, and we can do up to about 72, 75,000 a year if we're at full capacity.
So you got about 40% more capacity that you could do or so, or 30%. Okay. That's very exciting. And you can control whether you raise more or less. Do you sell the eggs too, or?
No, we're just meat people. So people always ask this, when you get to this scale of pasture poultry production, which we're micro, we're nano, we're not even a blip on our radar screen of a commercial guy. But for pasture poultry, we're in the upper end of the production, and you specialize at this scale that it's unlikely that you can profitably and professionally raise multiple different species, because essentially a laying chicken is an entirely different species from a meat chicken.
Okay,
you just treat them entirely separate.
All right, that's good to know. So how does it work right now? What's your best way of, what do you do for marketing now? What if we take our idea of dividing the business into the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit, during unit being the raising and the, getting the chicken, the production side of it, the before unit being, we treat it like a separate business, like a separate division whose only responsibility is to sell the chickens, right? That's the whole point. So what kind of things do you do in your before unit right now that are responsible for selling the chickens?
Right. So most of what we're selling this year is going out as wholesale. We're selling it as Big Bluff Ranch chicken to other retailers, mostly other online retailers. I call them baby butcher boxes. So the way I found those people was, I guess would call it manual outbound. Did the Google search, found contact info, just called them up and said, hey, I've got awesome chicken. Can we work something out? So that has worked for these wholesale accounts, but our chicken doesn't really wholesale well, that our price point is just high enough that it's not an easy sell. Everyone loves everything about our chicken, just all the way down the board until you hit the price point. Because we're essentially an artisanal. Think of us like if you're a wine person, think of us as like not quite a boutique, but we're a small wine. We have high production costs, high quality. I mean, this is the best chicken you're going to eat, but you don't take your little tiny winery and like dump it into Costco. It doesn't fit. The scale doesn't fit.
Right. So do you only sell whole chickens? Or do you process them or?
Yeah, we process them into parts. So it's, when we harvest, ideally we get to about a fifth per harvest, 50% will stay as whole birds and 50% get parted out. Okay. So that means we do have thighs and breasts and drumsticks and wings and feet sometimes. And some people like liver and that sort of stuff. But, to really, so basically we want to sell them at the same pace. And really we want to sell them as what I would call whole bird equivalents. That at our scale, I can't come up with a dark meat account without having an equal offsetting white meat account.
Got it.
Right. I got to sell it all at the same time, because what happens is if I do sell them separate, the breasts are gone and I end up with mountains of drumsticks. Right. So I sell whole bird equivalents. Right. Hey, you can buy it from me. You can buy a whole bird or you can buy a whole bird in parts, but you're buying some version of a whole bird from me.
Do you have in the after unit, just so I get a big picture context here, the after unit would be, getting repeat and referral business from the people who already buy your chickens. How would you say that split happens right now? Like, would you say how much of the business is after unit business, meaning of all, if we just took the last 12 months, of all the chickens that you sold, how much of it would be sold to people who already bought chickens the year before?
100%.
It's all that way. Okay, so
right. So what we do, and so we're talking about my wholesale, but honestly, I feel like that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like that's capped. I want to move into direct to consumer, more retail. But as far as the wholesale side of things, that we do contracts. We sign a year. We're a contract grower for these people. We sign a year agreement.
Okay.
And it's all dialed in. So I know what 23 is going to look like more or less already as far as my wholesale accounts go.
Okay.
And we go from there. But they're not referring me to other people. Their own account does grow a little bit over time, but it's not going to fill up that extra 40%. It's not going to jump from 50 to 72 next year.
And then do you have any direct to consumer, like aside from the ongoing accounts, the wholesale accounts, how much of the
not very many.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really,
you see that as the big opportunity
I
You've
think
got
that's, yeah.
Okay, because if I look at it, when I'm looking at the things, I'm looking at, I think one of the greatest assets that most business owners have is their excess capacity. You've got the
Mm,
ability, you've got access to create chickens at your cost, which is the lowest on the whole chain. Because if you're selling it to wholesale, they're marking it up as it goes to the consumer kind of thing. So and it may even be a couple of rounds, right? If you're selling to a wholesaler who may distribute them to a restaurant who's then marking it up to the consumer when they put it on the table and cook it up. So you're at the base of that. You've got access to the raw chickens from the time they're born, and you can control how many you can produce. So I look at that as the big opportunity for you. So if we take what's the can you break down kind of the economics of a chicken for me so we can get a sense of what's the maximum way if you were selling it direct to consumer that you would get the most for the chicken?
right. So our baseline cost for a chicken is about, oh, call it $9, $10 a
Okay.
pound, which is a organic pasture raised, no corn, no soy. There's a lot
Yeah.
of attributes in there. And then you're probably looking at having it show up at your doorstep on the West Coast for another $2, $3, $4 a pound. So having, 6 chickens shipped to your door is probably going to be about, I don't know, 13-ish, 14-ish dollars delivered. Depends a little bit on the shipping. And then above that, if we do parts, then I don't actually mark up very much for the parts, but there's an additional cost to it. So if you're buying parts, you're probably looking at $16-17 a pound delivered to your door.
So it's not like a huge margin on those when you're like, it's not like you're getting it for, a 5 times or a fifth of what the retail value of it is. So there's
No,
really
no.
about a
So
40%
I listen to
profit
all of
margin.
these people selling, informational, educational products, or they're talking
Yeah.
about their margins are 50%, 90%. It's like,
Right.
whoa, that's amazing. I could be
Yeah.
rich at that. But in
Right.
agriculture, your margins are tight. That's
So
production
what is
is.
it? Is it about the same if it's, a chicken broken up into parts and sold, or is it a whole chicken a
It's
little
about
bit?
$2 a pound more if we break it into parts.
Okay. And is the juice worth the squeeze on that in terms of the,
Generally speaking, yeah, because
yeah,
well, just think about how you like to eat your chicken, or how often do you buy a whole chicken?
never. I mean,
How
we were just talking
right?
about that. I was saying to Juan, the, I think people have a frame of reference for chicken but they're used to, because it's plentiful and it's inexpensive generally compared to what you're talking about here. And I was sharing 2 experiences that I've had with chicken that were like eye opening. I was at the Ritz Carlton in Pasadena, and they had some chicken that I had there that would just like blew my mind how tender and like just juicy premium this chicken definitely tasted like grade A chicken, right? Like the top of the line chicken. And then I had this experience in Toronto. There's a place called the Kebabbery, and they have halal chicken that was just amazing. Again, like just tender, and it's had really good flavor. So I've had those 2 experiences that stand out as premium chicken. So is I don't know enough about chicken to say like why is the chicken at Publix a rotisserie chicken, you get a whole rotisserie chicken done for $9 or so. What's how much would how many pounds is a typical chicken like that? Would that be a 3 pound, 4 pound
Yeah,
chicken?
rotisseries are usually smaller, on the smaller side. So yeah, 3
Yeah.
pounds. So you're
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And our whole birds, because most people are home cooks, if you're going to go to the trouble of hooking a whole bird, you might as well have some leftovers. So we aim for more of like a 4-pound bird.
Yeah. Okay. And so what's the cost like out for a whole chicken delivered to my house here?
Let's see. I've got a spreadsheet right here behind the screen. Well, shipping all the way to Florida is a little different, but if you are on the West Coast, I could ship you 24 pounds of chicken. So that'd be 6 whole birds for about $350 all in.
So about what are we talking per?
It works out to $12.82 a pound.
$12.82 a pound, or what would that be for per chicken?
Oh, per chicken. Let's see.
About
$50,
$45.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So that's an interesting thing right there, that it's $45 to $50 for a chicken, and with the baseline established at at a rotisserie
$1 a
grocery
pound.
store chicken for $8 or $9. And so it's not, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's like, that's just like you could get a bottle of wine for $8, but you could also get one for hundreds of dollars, just like you said. And it's funny you mentioned about the hogs. I read about in California, somebody in Northern California tried to do these exotic, artisanal, ham that they found in Spain, where they would feed these hogs only walnuts, and they'd raise them almost like Kobe beef, but kind of that ham that has that walnut flavor in it, and at a real premium price on that. So is it noticeable, like if you were to do taste test on your chicken versus any other chickens, would people go, wow, that's a premium chicken? Or is it more the health things, like I look at, because I think that the thing about grass-fed beef is it wouldn't necessarily win like taste tests or competitions kind of thing compared to fattier or whatever cuts of meat. But where does the chicken, what's the big appeal of the pasture?
It's just a little bit of my marketing problem. It's all true, right? Our chicken tastes absolutely better. You can blind side by side. You're like, oh, that's a better chicken. There's just no doubt about it. And then also it's healthier for you because it's eating a more appropriate diet to the species. It's living out in the sun. It's getting exercise. It's acting like a bird. It's not stuck in a barn somewhere.
Yeah.
It's healthier for the landscape because that's what pasture raised means. It means we're moving the birds like the way Mother Nature intended things to happen. It's better for the landscape. It's, it's healthier for you. It's this big ball of goodness that the idea that of regenerative agriculture starts from taking care of the soil, then you worry about your plants and you worry about your animals. And if you get that all kind of lined up in a process that Mother Nature has kind of designed for us, it's good on every level: flavor, health for you, health for the land, health for the environment, creating the world that you want your grandkids to live in.
Yeah.
It's all there. So it's kind of a matter of like, which hook do you want? And that's kind of where I'm stumbling, because basically everyone I talk to has a different hook. It's not like I have a clear winner of like, we buy it for taste. One person wants it for taste. One person wants it for the no corn, no soy aspect because of health. Well, some people want to change the food system, and then they're willing to support artisanal producers like us because they don't like JB Swift, JBS. So there's a lot of attributes. And then there's also the tricky question of how do you sell flavor over the internet, right? That people actually have to try it first to really believe it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So how do you get someone to take that step to make the first purchase just to try it? Because we can't actually afford to give it away as a free sample. Right. Like too expensive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to that if I could figure out a way of
No, I
like,
was
you
just
know,
going to say,
making it
or
so I
could
didn't.
you? Or could you, right? Like, you know, it's an interesting proposition, right? Especially when you look at how much, what would be the lifetime value or the annual value of a regular customer? If you were to say, like, how many chickens would regular, you know, put it in the rotation in your family thing? Is it a special occasion chicken, or is it a, you know, once a week chicken? Is it, yeah.
It should be a once a week chicken. I mean, food should be wonderful and it should be eaten often, right?
Yeah.
That you know, our chicken, you should. So the way I think of my ideal deliverable meat box would be such that you would have one good chicken meal per dinner per week, and you'd have 1 to 2 leftovers on top of that. So you'd be eating our chicken, you know, cook it once and eat it twice per week kind of idea.
Okay.
So it should be in your rotation. It shouldn't be a special occasion. It should be a,
where does chicken exciting fall? Where does chicken fall in the, you know, if we say in my household, the big three would be beef, chicken, and salmon. We eat salmon. And we were just talking about the salmon, like good Atlantic, you know, salmon it's not cheap. So a salmon, I think we have like, it's about $26 for like 2 fillets that we cook up. And so where would chicken rank in the per serving, like, of, you know, good beef, good chicken, good fish? Is chicken the most expensive? Is beef the most expensive? Do you know what I'm asking?
Oh, on a per serving, I don't know that off the top of my head. I would imagine salmon is probably the most on a per serving basis. Grocery store chicken probably is the least. And I would imagine our chicken is probably second to salmon, with beef being the cheapest all around, would be my guess. But I don't know that off the top of my head.
Depending on what kind of, compared to about if you're taking the equivalent beef, like if somebody orders grass-fed beef, that's like a common thing that people will order. You know, that's kind of been, I've heard it more common, or I'm more familiar with people ordering a side of a cow to stock in their freezer kind of thing. You've heard of people buying, like, you know, a herd of chickens or whatever you'd call it, you know, a flock. Yeah.
It's a flock. Yeah. No, I mean, that's essentially what we are trying to create, is educate, find a consumer for some hook, either flavor, health, whatever.
Yeah.
And then get them to accept or learn or how to deal with or think through that the best way to access this sort of chicken is to have big chunks of it show up at a time. So in my mind, that would be having 20-ish pounds of chicken show up once a month. You're probably going to eat 4 to 5 pounds of that per week. You know, cook it reduces down, and you know, bones and such. And then
of course
that and then once a month you just get a nice big box of like amazing chicken. You don't have to go to the grocery store. You don't have to think about it. It's sitting there in the freezer, and you just go from there.
Ideal. I mean, those things are there, and I think about the premium, you know, the people who are doing those premium things, like in other categories. There's a premium everything. I mean, think of Harry and David, and, you know, Omaha Steaks, and there's always someone who's doing the high end of things. And I think that, you know, I'd really lean into that in a way. Like, is there anything that could make a better chicken than what you do? Is there, I mean,
not that would be commercially viable. Yeah. The only step that I could take, and it would not be commercially viable, would be to retain my own breeding flock and then breed my own birds. But it doesn't, that would be like a $500 a pound chicken. It just goes. Okay. It's not something that I can with a straight face get into. But everything we do between, you know, what we do is 95% of the ultimate chicken, and it's still a price you can afford.
That's great. And and there's something about that. I was talk about owning your price in a way, right? Like being okay with it, that it's okay that it's a premium product, and just understanding that's what'll happen in the marketplace. You're trying to reach the people who are attracted to premium things. We always talk about on the podcast Stella Artois as a beer leaning into it, that their whole thing is that they have billboards that say reassuringly expensive. And I think that fits, that if your chicken is reassuringly expensive, and there's a difference between, the a free range pasture raised chicken compared to a Purdue chicken that never leaves the 2 square feet that it's born in, jammed in with all these other chickens. It's gotta be, I think people get that, but I think that most people kind of turn a blind eye to the food processing realities of what's going on, because in the supermarket they're shielded from what's actually going on, what steroids or antibiotics or whatever's chemicals done to these chickens to speed up and get them fat and juicy quickly. So it seems to me that one of the things, like you said, is just getting people to taste it, right? Like if you taste this chicken compared, you would probably be much more inclined to think and realize, oh, wow, I need more of this chicken in my life, right? And that kind of drawn to it. I was telling Juan when we were in Toronto in Yorkville, we were at the Hazelton, we were there for a month, and this kebabery was, kind of right next door. And we probably went there 26 times out of the 30 days that we were there, because we were just addicted to how amazing this chicken was. And I think, are there local restaurants that serve your chicken? Are like, when you say wholesale ones, are they like that feature your chicken as like on their thing, or is it just kind of blind that they're just passing it through as like they're not they're not revering the chicken? There's not a legend of the Big Bluff Ranch chicken.
No, the common assumption that restaurants are the way to go for niche marketing meat is mostly a false assumption. That restaurants actually are pretty low volume. They don't move a lot of chicken on a per week basis, unless you get into a big one.
Yeah, because you don't really go out to a restaurant. You don't think about there's steak places, there's seafood places, but you're not, Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeyes is like the chicken-oriented things. You don't think about it as a high-end chicken place, right?
So no, we don't sell to restaurants. We have a tiny bit. It's a whole specialty thing to deal with restaurants. And the restaurants, target rich area of restaurants is the Bay Area, which is 4 hours away from us. And it could be a limiting belief, but I just don't think that's a game I would ever be able to play well. So
my thought wasn't selling it to the restaurants, trying to increase that. My thought was having, I always love to like see what's happening in other industries and see how you could apply that thing. That imagine if you had a special dinner, like an evening where you would invite people to come and experience this chicken as a way to have them taste the chicken with an eye to then explain, like in the financial services world, people do dinner seminars to, they wrap a financial presentation around come to Ruth's Chris or comes to Morton's for dinner, and then they do a presentation, but they fill the room with their ideal candidates for clients, right? And that just as a way of gathering the audience. So I think about how could you create an environment where people are there, and experiencing the chicken and learning about the benefits of pasture raised chicken, and the opportunity then to become a customer, to get some of this chicken. Because if it's that good, like, I mean, I shared you 2 experiences I've had that were outliers in my chicken eating experience at the Ritz-Carlton and at the Kebabbery. Would that be, if prepared in the right way, would that be a remarkable experience for people?
Oh, yeah. No, I think people, it would blow their socks off.
Yeah, and that's a different than it's hard to convey that in a print ad or on the internet or in a video or anything like that, but you've got the opportunity to do that, to perhaps look at that and see how the economics of it works. So then you would start to think, okay, if that's the case, then what else could we do? Who else would love to gather a group of people in a room? Like, I'm thinking about these financial advisors, if they're doing these dinners anyway, or fundraising, high-end fundraising dinners or high-end political dinners. Like, you think about the people who are doing fundraising for the people who are more environmentally inclined or that philosophically would align with what you're about in terms of their being there, and aligning that you are able to provide the chicken, or that, having that experience, and along with it, that it becomes a recruiting experience for you, but also along the lines of someone else. I was just recording a thing. I used to run a painting company, and when I was in college, and we started another company called Name Droppers. And what we did was we had college girls go out in the evenings and on the weekends and do surveys in neighborhoods looking for people who were doing home improvement projects over the summer. And all we were looking for was people who wanted to do painting, but we realized if we're going to go out and talk to people, there's probably a lot of different home improvement projects that they're going to do. So we were asking people if they were planning on any home improvement projects over the summer. And we had check boxes for roofing, windows, siding, garage doors, driveway sealing, landscaping, pool, deck, fence, all the things that could go in there. And that we turned our lead generation into a profit center. And because we were getting referrals and selling leads to the roofer and the pool company and the fencing company. And so our leads, when somebody said they wanted to do some painting, we were getting those leads for free. And so I wonder how that would be one thing that I might think of, is how could we get your chicken in front of people who could be ideal candidates, but in a way that then they get presented with the opportunity to get the chicken at home.
Right. No, that's interesting. I just, as you were saying that, I just thought of, I don't know many restaurants, but there's a couple I could probably talk to the chef and be like, hey, you can't buy my chicken on an ongoing basis, but could we do a Big Bluff Ranch chicken night? I provide all the chicken. Right. You can talk to your people. I'll talk to my people. We'll stuff your restaurant full of people who want your amazing chef recipe skills and my amazing chicken, and we'll make a big to-do out of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty interesting, right? I think that's pretty amazing, especially maybe if you did it in combination, like you think about how could you get those things. You've got a lot of friends in the grass-fed beef business who don't sell chicken, that if we start to think who else wants premium food conscious people who are, DTC oriented.
Right. I have reached out to them. It's a slow process because they're all producers, right? They're all busy, but I have tried to borrow their audiences, or I'm in the process of trying to get access to their audiences, and it hasn't happened yet, but not for lack of trying. Just hasn't had enough time to mature.
And it's kind of an interesting thing that you might even think about a way to, if I were looking at it as an opportunity, because I always look at your before unit opportunity I mentioned, as a separate business, right? So I would look at it and think, it's going to be an uphill thing to get other people to think like you think, or to, invest in, or get try and go forward on something that's going to take them outside of their norm. But I always talk about going to the receiving dock versus the purchasing department. Like, if you're going to these guys trying to talk to the purchasing department, say, hey, let's team up and invest money in trying to find these things, that's a different conversation than what's your capacity? And could you, if you start thinking about buying their wholesale capacity kind of thing as an opportunity, they're 100%, they would be much more open to selling more beef.
Right.
Excuse me, I swallowed the wrong way here. Just give me a second.
Yeah. No, I have thought about that. Way back in the day, I called it a meat CSA, which was aggregating local producers' product, meat producers from Hat Creek and pork from, Masa Organics and our chicken and our beef. And I bundled up and sold it off. And, I didn't know what I didn't know. If I could have started all over again, I probably could have made a really good business out of that, but I didn't know what I didn't know at the time.
Right.
So I'm not, it's a great idea. The kind of the mission of what I am about, what we are about here at Big Bluff Ranch is to create a kind of a California specific meat case. I don't have a great term for it yet, but so you're sitting in Florida, right? You go into a grocery store. Well, in Florida, you might see more fish than we do. But generally speaking, you go into a meat case in Florida, it's going to look exactly like the meat case out here in California. But then you step out of the grocery store, you're going to have palm trees and surf and sand and stuff. And you come out here to California and it's going to be hills and brown grass and, hot, dry. So the meat cases should be a reflection of the environment, and they're not. And so that is a disconnect from the reality of our environment. So what we are trying to do is say, hey, in our spot in California, we should raise some grass-fed beef because we're not green in the summer, so you can't do that year round. We should do a fair amount of goat and lamb because lots of fun technical stuff, but goat and lamb is perfect for California. And a little bit of chicken. And if you are going to do chicken, it should be eating appropriate grains that come from California, which in our case means no corn, no soy. California shouldn't grow corn, too much irrigation in the summer, and soy doesn't grow here. We're too dry. So that's why we're no corn, no soy. There are potential benefits, depends on who you believe in the science world, for the animal health and for human health with a no soy, no corn diet. But I see both sides of the egg. I don't know what's true, but I do know that our birds shouldn't be eating that because it's not ecologically appropriate to California. So I am trying to keep all of the production into Big Bluff Ranch for a specific purpose, to create a model of what California meat should look like. And that there are, like you said, I know plenty of people in this world. It's not a very large industry. I know the major producers in California, but I don't, that's not my mission. It's not, I could do that, but I would have to stand up a whole separate business. That's not the mission of Big Bluff Ranch. We want to take care of roughly 1,000 families. I figure more or less we can provide all of the meat 1,000 families would need to eat that would be California appropriate. And so that is kind of the mission, is to find 1,000 families who want to eat the right meat for California, who want to have their food dollars create the future that they want to live in.
The chicken subscription. So what would
Yep.
that be worth? What would that customer be worth over the course of a year if we did the quick math on, if you were saying like the once a week? Remember, even the California almond growers were saying just one can a week. That's their whole trying to
Right.
get America on one can of nuts a week. But what would one chicken a week look like in terms of?
It's what did we just say? It's about $350 a month times 12. So that's, well, call it $400 to make the math easy. So
Yeah,
4,800 ish, $4,000 a year would
right.
be a customer value.
Yeah, of which there would be about a $1,500 profit on $1,500 margin on that,
Yeah,
roughly.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be a million and a half dollar profit business or gross profit.
Right.
Yeah. And 1,000, you only need 1,000 of them.
Yeah. That's what I keep telling myself. It's only a
Yeah.
thousand. I have zero right now, but it's
Right.
only 1,000. There's I don't know
Right.
how many million people. There's 4 million people in the Bay Area. I mean, I'm
Right.
not asking
Exactly.
for a lot, but the problem is that I'm looking for needles in a haystack is kind of the
Right.
issue. It's not, it's the marketing and the lead generation and that's the tricky
Yeah. I
part
look
of
at
what we're
it that
doing. I
part
know
of
the
the
people
thing
are out
is,
there. It's how do I find them?
yeah, we should find one. How much does it
Yeah.
cost to find one? That's really what it comes down to, right? Like if you were to look at, if we had 100 people come for dinner and, or whatever, let's say 30 people came for dinner, how many of them would then become customers, right? That becomes the answer of it. Or if they
Right.
were to taste the chicken and have that experience of it, there's a good chance that they're going to be new customers.
Right.
It's a pretty interesting thing. I was sharing, if you've got a way, like if you've got a local thing that somebody could, I was just thinking out loud about a ghost kitchen type of model there. You're familiar with that concept, ghost restaurants, ghost kitchens, and the newest iteration of it, which I'm most excited about, is like the Mr. Beast model, the virtual dining concepts. People
Right.
that they basically work with restaurants that have excess capacity, and they get them to prepare the Mr. Beast menu and then drop it out the back door, and somebody will come up and pick it up and deliver it, kind of thing, right? And so I wonder if you have friends or you have somebody, a local restaurant that could prepare the chicken kind of thing. I'm just thinking you get someone to have you know, get that best experience, prepare it in the best way, and deliver it to someone. There'd be a really interesting thing to do like a direct mail or Facebook, radius
Mm-hmm.
type of thing around the restaurant, and just have you from the farm talking about the thing and offering somebody to say that basically this is going to be the best chicken you've ever put in your mouth, or your
Right.
money back, or whatever. Like, I just want you to experience
Right.
this. And right now, if you're watching this video, we could have this chicken in your mouth in the next 30 minutes. And that's, you know what I mean? If you target the ads, you can toggle them on and off, and you run them in the
Right.
prime time starting at noon, and say, what are you having for dinner tonight?
Right.
And if you want to put the best chicken that you've ever had in your mouth in your belly tonight, right now, we could deliver it right to your door at any time tonight. And this is one of the game changer things that has helped for me, is the pre-scheduled delivery on Grubhub or
Right.
Seamless Over. But you could set up that same type of thing. You just wonder, like, what would that look like for $100 worth of an ad spend, or $25, or whatever? If you've got, it's a low risk type of thing.
Right.
If they've got a couple of chickens that they could prepare tonight, if you could just get people to taste it, and then you've got people who are, tasting it, saying, do you remember the blue blockers sunglasses?
Hmm.
how Sugarman sold $300 million worth of blue blockers, where you had to really experience it. And their whole thing was just going to Venice, California, on the boardwalk or on the path there, having people try on the glasses and them just going, wow, I can't believe. By the end of seeing, 30 minutes of this, you're ordering the blue blockers because you've got to experience what all these people who are just shocked by how amazing these blue blockers made their eyes feel. If you had that same kind of reaction from foodies or people tasting this
Hmm.
chicken, saying, this is the best chicken I've ever put in my mouth, or this is the best thing I've ever tasted, if there are all of that kind of reaction where you get people, well, let me try that. I got to try some of that chicken.
Right. Yeah, I think it would be a fun idea. My
Because
only
if you could
first
make
thought,
that work,
well, my only first thought was, is the person, and this may be way too persnickety, but is the person who's willing to have food delivered, is that the type of person who's going to buy chicken to cook themselves later? Or just by the
I
act
don't
of
know.
actually buying chicken, are they demonstrating that
Yeah.
they're a out of kitchen cooker?
Well, they've demonstrated that they're chicken lovers or chicken
Right.
interested, right? Like that's, I think, part of it. That's
Hmm.
adjacent to somebody who's going to cook
Right.
their own chicken. And depending who you target on Facebook too, right? Like you could target people who are aligned with the types of things that you're doing there. And it's just like mailing postcards. I look at it as the same thing. I think this is our digital inbox right now, and when you're
Right.
scrolling through your news feed, I think about each screen that you see on your Facebook as or Instagram as a little digital postcard. And
Right.
you get the same kind of response rate to the on a CPM basis. Like it might cost you, for $30, you can get in front of 1,000 people. And, if you get the same response rates as what happens if you mail regular postcards, except it's a tenth of the cost.
Right. Right.
It's a pretty interesting model, because if you can get that to work, and if that is an adjacency kind of thing, I think that's I think that's a really interesting potential model there. Because the whole thing is, can you get somebody to who experiences it to buy the whole chicken, like prepare the chicken themselves? And there's got to be some way people who like some of these cooking ones or are subscribed to certain things on Facebook that happen there. It's an interesting thought. Or having that
Hmm.
recipe even, and that may be it might be worth an interesting thing of thinking about it as a virtual dining concept. If there is a way that you could have somebody prepare it in their regular kitchen, but have it be, going out the back door for delivery, that could be just as or more profitable, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, I had the whole, yeah, I really like the idea of using that to get people to try the chicken. I think that's a pretty fun way of, because you
Mm-hmm.
could pull in the partnerships, right? Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
restaurant, we'll advertise you, you advertise us, and you make an event out of it.
Yeah.
I could be there. I could talk about the chicken,
Yeah.
because you eat with your eyes first, you eat with your mind first. So if
Absolutely.
you,
And the
you give
story.
them
Yeah.
the story, so they're already, A, the chicken's just flat out better, and then B, you're
Yeah.
predisposing them to believe that it's going to be better. They've already decided that before they even taste it.
Yeah. I agree. And now it's like the presupposition that this is the best chicken that you've ever tasted, it's like, yeah, this is the best chicken I've ever tasted. I can't
Right.
argue with that.
Right. What do you think about, oh, shipping them a free sample? I just
Yeah.
said I don't want to really do that because chicken's expensive, but
Right.
yeah, if you kind of, and I can't do the math fast enough, but if your LTV is X and your CAC is
Yeah,
that.
that
So,
absolutely.
what's your, I mean, do you think that there is a way of doing that, of like being able to,
Yeah.
probably not a whole bird, but, hey, we could send you a package of legs to try, or a package of breasts to try,
Yeah.
buy free shipping, bailing the meat,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
you pay the shipping, I'll do the meat, or anything like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Do you think that would be anything
Absolutely,
there?
because it's one of those things. That's why I was going with the whole idea of anything to get people there. That's why I was talking about the meals, like even if you were to think about gathering, the people in a small thing where there's some other purpose for it as well. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
about the chicken. It could be a inexpensive way of getting people to taste the chicken and then know that there's an opportunity to buy it. Because in order to go, we talk about people have to know you, like you, trust you. But,
Right.
if you say that the majority of the 4 million people in the Bay Area have no idea that there's even such a thing as, as Big Bluff Ranch, that's so the more that know, the better it's going to be for you. And I love this
Right.
idea of, if there's any way to give away something, like the economics of it make the most sense. Because one of the rules of thumb that I always have is that sometimes, most of the time, it's less expensive to get somebody a result than it is to convince them to give you money to get that result. And
Right.
it's better to give them the opportunity to taste the best chicken they've ever tasted than to convince them to give you money to taste the best chicken they've ever tasted.
Right.
And it's a really interesting thing because it also triggers then reciprocity, that there's an overwhelming urge that if we try something, that we at least need to reciprocate and buy one of these chickens,
Yeah.
or one order of
Yeah.
it.
How would you do that, as like just a blatant like Facebook ad? Hey, just try our
Yeah,
chicken for free,
I
or
would
would you
definitely.
kind of put it like into the welcome series? Like, hey, I don't know what the hook would be, but hey, get on my email list, and then in the welcome series, so they've already
No,
displayed some sort
you
of
might give
commitment to the
somebody
idea.
you might give somebody a gift card. Like one of the things, my girlfriend owns a studio here called Amazing Brows and Lashes. And how we built the business was offering $100 gift card towards microblading for eyebrows,
Mm-hmm.
which is about a, $400 process. So it's giving 25% off basically. But $100 gift card is very different than 25% off, right? When you're
Right.
saying that if you were to give people a $50 gift card or a $25 gift card or whatever the equivalent would be, if it's 50% off, you can get to what your cost is on
Right.
the thing. That if somebody had a $50 gift card, they could get 2 chicken
Oh,
for.
I just had an idea.
All right.
So give them whatever, give them $50 off, and they
Yeah.
could apply it like, hey, here's $50 off. It'll cover the cost of this sample, but you already have
Yeah.
$50 off. Why not buy $200
Yes.
worth? But you have $50 off,
Exactly.
so it's only 150. Here,
That's it.
oh,
$50
I like
gift
that,
card.
because that way it's not
Yeah.
like, limiting yourself. Like, they choose your own adventure. Like, probably most of them will
Yes.
buy $50 worth of chicken, but
Yes.
some of them will buy $200 because they've got
Yes.
50 bucks off.
Yeah. And I just think like those kind of things, you could be a Facebook, Instagram star like that. Like you're unique looking, you're articulate, you're out, nobody's ever seen a chicken farm in there and they're coming through their Facebook feed. And you talking about that, saying that game and saying, listen, that whole, Harry and David started out with a big ad in Forbes magazine saying, with the picture of them on a ladder out in the field. Imagine Harry and me advertising our pears in Fortune. Like, it's kind of
Right.
imagine me advertising our chickens on Instagram. But I'm Tyler, and this farm's been in my family for 4 generations, and we raise the very best tasting chickens you've ever put in your mouth, and I want you to experience that. And we're right
Right.
here down the street and local, and I want to offer you a $50 gift card to experience the best chicken. Just click right there to download your gift card.
I like it. I do like
I do
that.
too.
That resonates with me. Like that.
Yeah.
That's like, the little pitchfork, the little tuning fork.
Yeah.
Bing.
There we go. We
that
got there.
I like that. That makes sense because like you said, that I could use the gift card and then I'm not really giving it away. I can cover most of my costs, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
And you could free shipping. You can kind of play with the hook.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think
and
that's
so
a really
what's
interesting thing.
Yeah.
Dude,
what's your
a chicken catalog? Our chicken catalog. We sell pieces or whole chickens or multiple chickens. Have your chicken every week, and that's that I think would be a great thing. You can make a beautiful chicken catalog that shows the farm, tells the story of the farm, shows the
like an actual print, like, hey, if you
have.
buy with this 50, if it's an actual print catalog, you buy a 50, if you use our $50 off gift card, you get this print PDF. Catalog in the mail.
You can download the gift card and a PDF catalog.
Comes at the same time.
Yeah.
I like it. What's your social media weapon of choice these days? Would you kind of go Instagram, Facebook, TikTok?
Yeah.
Facebook still
is always the first because you've got invisible prospects and they're right there within a radius of you. If you take one segment of the market, you could narrow down to one town, just to go within even over the 20-mile radius of your farm there even.
Right.
Potentially.
And what about, but Instagram is so tied into Facebook.
It is. It's the same
run ads
thing.
on
You're
both. Right.
Yes, it's the same. It's one platform. You run ad, you're in both. You're on Facebook and
right. Okay. Right. So you use the Facebook ads manager, but then you cross post over on Instagram at the same time.
That's exactly right.
And
it
seems like all this.
If you were willing to, invest, you could have a really good experience that if you just set aside, say, $1,000 to have to experiment with this idea, you'd know within $1,000 whether you got a winner,
Right. No, those are all great ideas.
Yeah. I love that idea. I love that. So that's, I'd love to help you with that. I think that's I think you got a cool opportunity there.
Right. That's the thing. Everyone loves our chicken. It's just great. It's the price point is a speed bump and makes the, mass distribution of it harder, which I know it's not hard. I also, I'm a farmer. I am both poor and cheap all at the same time. There is sometimes within me, it's like, I can't, I have to, but it's hard to ask this sort of price for this chicken. Right. It's true. It's fair. It is the cost the chicken should be. I am not making a killing at this. Some sort of scammy thing. But on the other hand, it's like, that's a lot of money for a chicken.
Yeah, I get it. But it's a great chicken.
It is. It's absolutely. It will be. I don't know if I'll add a third to your list of great chicken experiences. You can go Ritz-Carlton, kebab place, and Big Bluff Ranch chicken. So you'll have three. You'll have a top 3 instead of a top 2 chicken experience.
There we go. I love it. That's awesome. So where can people go to find out about the Big Bluff chicken experience here?
Right. We're still relatively unsophisticated, so make it easy. BigBluffRanch.com. You'll see a big picture of my face there. You'll see pictures of the chickens and how we raise them and the beautiful ranch that we live on and the place that you could come visit if you're local. Yeah. And that's it.
I love it. I love that this could be a great thing. Do you have the ability on your website to put, gift card codes or?
I'm sure I do. I'm not the geek who set this up. I like to geek out, but I don't have time to be the geek. So I'm sure I could figure that out. I don't have it set up right now, but I'm sure it's a WooCommerce platform. Yeah. So I'm sure there's gift cards possible. I just don't know how.
I think so too. All right. Well, let's bookmark that idea, but I think you're on to something there. How can people email you if they have
Oh yeah,
questions about
yep.
the chicken?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that is one of the things that I am trying to bring from reality onto the digital space is the experience of the farmer market. One of the best things about the farmer market is, yes, the produce is better. Yes, the product is better. But really the best thing about the farmer market is talking to the farmer,
Meeting the
having that
farmer,
weekly
yeah.
interaction. So I'm trying to bring that accessibility up to into the internet. So yeah, absolutely. If you have any questions, I want to talk to you. Tyler at bigbluffranch.com, and I will get back to you pretty darn quickly. And if you want to talk to me, we just got Starlink like 4 months ago. So this whole like internet thing is like, wow, this is why people get excited about the internet. I would be
That's
more than
so
happy.
funny. I love it.
Because I'm probably up to, I don't know, maybe 30 Zoom calls now, 40 Zoom calls. Okay. And so for me, this is still new and exciting, right?
Yeah,
I realize everyone else in the world is burnt out about them. But for me, I'm like, wow, internet, talking to people. This is fun.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, I've had fun, Tyler. It's been great talking chicken. I can't wait to taste your chicken. And let's stay connected. I want to see how this can play out.
Absolutely. I'm on your newsletter. It's great. I get a ton of value out of it. So yeah, I will definitely keep you in the loop.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tyler.
Yep.